We went through kind of some normal bureaucratic back and forth, and they ultimately said, yes, you can write about it in detail. And then in 2021, when we submitted the manuscript and it was complete, the world started to change. In 2022, multiple major issues erupted between major adversaries of the United States, and CIA came back and removed their previous permission. They basically said that in light of current geopolitics, everything in the book was now reclassified.
How did you get the CIA to change their mind so that you could release this book and talk about what you're going to talk about today?
We engaged with an attorney, one of the top attorneys in the space of classified information and publishing information. So the attorney believed that because of the effort that my wife and I had put into the book, CIA would back off. And ultimately, that is what they did. When we threatened them with a First Amendment lawsuit, they came back and said, we don't want to go down that road. We think we can collaborate on this. We'll approve your book, and you can move forward.
Why do you think they didn't want you to publish this book and this story to get out?
When this story hits the airwaves, it's going to transform people's opinion about CIA in two big ways. First, they'll understand that CIA is not what the movies portray it to be. It's not superhuman spies who go out there like James Bond or Jason Bourne, who are one man against the world. That's not how espionage works. Espionage is a team sport. You have wins, you have losses. The second thing is they'll start to understand the depths to which CIA will dive to collect intelligence that protects Americans. Inside this book, we talk about a mole that actually penetrated CIA that CIA has never acknowledged. Inside this book, we talk about new tactics that CIA learned from terrorism and then used against our own most strategic adversaries. I don't think people recognize that CIA is morally ambivalent to how it executes espionage operations. The goal is to keep Americans safe.
When you say in this book, you disclose that there was a mole within the CIA, what does that mean for someone that doesn't know what a mole in the CIA is?
One of the worst things that can happen to an intelligence service is that one of its own officers becomes a spy for a foreign adversary. That is what I'm referring to when I talk about a mole.
And you were involved in that operation to find the mole within the CIA?
Correct. More specifically, my wife and I were included in an operation to kind of ferret out the mole, to bait and tempt the mole to make a mistake so that the mole could be found and disclosed.
And your wife is here today?
Correct.
And we're going to bring her in and talk to her as well. But for anyone that doesn't know your backstory, which would be pretty remarkable seeing as you've been on this channel now a few times, could you give me a whistle-stop tour of your professional background up until the point that you met Jihi?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from a rural place in Pennsylvania. Was like the only brown kid in a white high school. But I ended up going to a military academy. I went to the Air Force Academy. And from the Air Force Academy, I go into the Air Force. The Air Force teaches me how to fly. They teach me a foreign language. And then they teach me about nuclear weapons and nuclear missiles. And I serve as a nuclear missile officer in the Air Force. So CIA picked me up. And in my first day on the job in CIA, that's the day that I met my wife. She was sitting in the back of the classroom. I, of course, worked my way to the front of the classroom. And from there, our training just kind of overlapped and we became close.
Well, Jihi is here, so I'd like to hear her version of events.
Whoa. What's that? I just put the button in.
I taught him a foreign language. My son was lit. My son was lit.
Impossible. I can't.
My son was feeling like him.
Was there any inconsistency in the story he told? What was your perspective? There's always another perspective. And are you allowed to date in the CIA?
Oh, yeah. It's encouraged because it's really hard when you're keeping so many secrets to date somebody outside of the CIA and not be able to tell that. Because we had friends who did that. You have to keep your whole life secret. So you're lying to them about where you're going and what you do. And
Day to day.
Day to day, every single day. So you're building a relationship and lying all the time. And it's really difficult. So if you date within the CIA, you know, if you're in different divisions or whatever, like maybe you can't talk about everything in detail, but you at least know what's going on. You know why somebody's going TDY or where they're going for a training session, or
we can explain to each other like, hey, I'm going to go work with the Spanish. I'm going to go work with the Canadians. But when you're dating somebody on the outside, you can't say those things. So it becomes, I'm going on a business meeting. I'm going on a trip.
Crazy.
And we've had many friends who have had relationships explode or melt down because the partner starts to ask very logical questions. We had one good friend of ours who was an outsider who was dating one of our good friends who was an insider. And she pulled me aside one day and she was like, you know, he goes on all these business trips, but he never takes any suits. She's like, I think he's cheating on me. And I was like, no, he's actually going to a tactical training course where you don't need to wear anything except BDUs, but I can see your concerns. So you have to walk your, like, there's a lot of walking people off a cliff because they start to come to the wrong conclusion about what their actual partner is doing.
Jihi, what's your journey into the CIA?
Mine was kind of an unexpected journey because I went into social work, working with survivors of torture from other countries, with refugees, with asylees. But before I got that job, I'd spent my entire last year of grad school going to job fairs. And what I really wanted was to work for the federal government, for like the larger mission for the United States, for like the people of the United States. But then nobody was calling me back. And I was like, okay, I'll just submit an application, like an online application to CIA, which I thought was funny. And then a few months later, I got a call back. She was like, come to the information session. So I went in like a random hotel with these like nondescript signs outside, and you walk in and you're like, I don't know if I'm in the right place. And then they close the door and they're like, welcome to the CIA recruiting session. And you're like, oh, this is so bizarre. And
Did they tell you what your role is? Because I know there's several different roles in the CIA.
Targeters began during the War on Terror. And because what they initially did was target individuals for capture or kill for the military.
Okay, so what does that mean? They targeted people for capture or kill for the military. So you would find the person to capture or kill in a foreign country.
Yes. And so because, you know, everybody else is doing their job of, you know, logistics or weapons or fighting or strategy. So the targeter position was really important because it takes time to go through all this data to piece together this puzzle of who is important to capture, who's important to kill, and how do you get to them? The how do you get to them is the piece that like everybody else wants to know, but they don't really have time to do that and their other jobs. So they carved out this targeter role so one person can do all this research and identify. And the, you know, terrorists were really fascinating because they had how their organizations were structured. And so you really needed somebody who could look, I mean, it's like targeting the mafia, right? Like everybody has a role. Like there's a big organization, everybody has a role. It is in your favor if you're going after them to find out who's connected to who, how can you get to different people? Because you're never going to be able to just get the top person right away. So how do you get there, right?
And you became a targeter.
Yes.
So your job was to figure out who to capture and kill.
Or capture or.
And what was your role in the CIA? How is your role different? Can you explain it for a layman?
Yeah, so where Jihi was trying to find the individuals that were of interest, my job was to learn what to do after a targeter identified those individuals. How do you actually meet the person? How do you befriend the person? How do you win their trust? How do you collect their secrets? What's known as a field officer, an operations officer, a case officer. Those are the different terminologies that we use internally. But you essentially have every case is kind of handed over from person to person. So raw information, sometimes open source information is handed to a targeter who creates a profile, a dossier, a targeting package, who hands it to an operations officer who goes out and actually makes that first contact. And then when first contact is made, we pass all the information back and it goes back to all the same people to build the next package for the next target.
So Jihi would identify the individual, and then your job was to fly overseas, go undercover, and make first contact with them.
Keep it a band, gang. Keep it a band, gang, because it's so many roles, gang. Like, it's so many roles.
It's gonna take a while, yeah. It's gonna take a long time.
Who?
To be a CIA.
Nah, like, because I'm supposed to be going to the military, so
to be
I get
that
out of high
experience,
school.
though.
Nah, gang, because when you get out the military, gang, they'll recruit you, like, off the rip. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, and then I'm going to only do 3 years, so it's going to be free. You see what I'm saying? And I'm going to be a veteran, though.
And you got a young age. You got everything free.
I'm at a young age, veteran, 21.
Everything will be paid for.
I think the CIA, you got to be like
everything.
23, though.
Everything's paid to be in the CIA. So he's really living free. Y'all can do that.
But CIA gonna give you housing too.
Yeah.
For folks. But I don't want to be the nigga who capture and kill, and I wouldn't want to have like a family Like I wouldn't want to have a girlfriend, a daughter, none of that. Like not while I'm in the CIA game. Like when I'm capturing and killing, I'm not trying to have no liabilities. I'm worried about this nigga I'm about to fucking crush. Nah, fuck no. I'm worried about this nigga I'm about to fucking kill. That's gonna be your problem, gang. Cause when you in the CIA game, a nigga can learn about you. Say for instance, you just shot a nigga in the head or you just stabbed a nigga multiple times. Nigga, he lived. Nigga, your girl is killed. Just like that, gang. That's why you don't need to have no liabilities.
Wait, what? Say again?
Like, say for instance, your job was to capture and kill, nigga. You stabbed him a whole bunch of times, but this nigga somehow survived. Nigga, your girl was killed. Nigga, that's why you don't need to have no liabilities.
Fuck stabbing this nigga. I'm shooting this nigga in his fucking dome on God.
Nigga, some niggas can live off the face shot. That's what I'm telling you.
I'm shooting multiple shots.
Real, cause you don't never know the circumstance. You could have been in a public place, hit his ass one time with the silencer, and had to get up out of there. That's what I'm saying. So it's just you feel me? You just never know. And then he lived. Now he not even going for you, nigga. He going for your family, nigga. He trying to pick you off one by one.
Family?
Nah, he going for your girl. Nigga trying to pick y'all off one by one.
How you know who my girl is?
Nigga, cause he gonna obviously have paperwork on you, nigga. He gonna obviously track you, obviously do all this to try. You feel me? He ain't gonna get to know your family cause the CIA gonna keep that real confirmation.
I'll just get my girlfriend to join the CIA. Dead ass. I'm being dead ass.
Nah, bro.
I'll be like that nigga on God. Fuck you talking about?
Nah, his girl was already in the CIA.
I'm saying still.
Alright. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you can't force her though.
I'm not gonna force her. I'm gonna ask her.
To extract intelligence from them.
If she don't,
And not at first. By the time that CIA started utilizing us as a tandem couple is a term that means a married, truly married, CIA trained couple. When we started becoming a tandem couple, that's how we were a 1-2 punch for operations. Prior to that, we were in separate offices and separate divisions doing separate work. So we got along and we were complementary because I understood the challenges of her job and she understood the challenges of my job, which made both of us better working with our counterparts in our different offices.
So where does the story begin, Andy? You wrote this book to tell a story. So I'm asking you the question. Usually I'd hazard a guess where to start, but where does this story begin?
From my perspective, the story really starts on I think it was a winter day when we were both called in to a counterintelligence office that was a massive oak table. It was a senior executive leadership type of room, but there were only 3 people there. It was she, it was me, and it was the leader of what's known as Falcon House, which is this group of specialists inside of CIA focused on one particular adversary, an adversary that we've had to codename Falcon to maintain confidentiality with CIA.
And so Falcon is a country, basically.
Falcon is a country, correct. And that leader...
In Albion, no matter where you go or what you do, your mount will accompany you on your journey. Perhaps you'll pick the ox, a merchant's best friend. It can carry anything you throw at it. Anything. Okay, maybe not that much.
It was salad in there.
Revealed to us that they believed there was a penetration, a mole, that was inside of Falcon House, inside of CIA, and that they needed us to agree to do an operation so that the mole will make a mistake here. Because if the mole makes a mistake here, we'll find him. But we can't have you be here, because if you're here, the mole will find you. And then we don't know what happens if the mole finds you. So we're going to send you across the world to go work in this other country, Falcon being the country, while we here as the experts in Washington, D.C. try to find the mole. And that was privileged information that neither of us as junior officers ever thought we would hear. And I think that, I know for me, I was kind of giddy with excitement, and he was a little bit more apprehensive with, this can't be real. But that was, for me, that's where the story starts, is when these 2 people, her and with her anxiety disorder and me with my kind of lackluster CIA career, when we got pulled into this office that was clearly outside of our league and invited to do this operation, without that first meeting, Shadow Cell would have never happened.
So from that moment onwards, how long was it before you flew to the foreign country in question? And what was your objective when you got to that foreign country? So I guess it's like a sub-objective to find the mole.